Hello, welcome to Todd Miller TV. Today's video is about why offers get accepted and why some offers don't get accepted. You probably have noticed if you've submitted multiple offers on properties that you tend to either get properties all the time if you're an investor, or you don't get them all the time. And what happens a lot of times that we see is that people submit 10 or 12 offers with an agent. None of them will get accepted, so they'll fire that agent, move on to some other agent, and they'll go through the same process. So we see that a lot here. People come to us and say, "Hey, I've been writing offers on properties; they're not getting accepted. So I'm gonna come to you guys and see if you can make this happen for me." And then what we come to find out is we'll work with this person, and we come to find out that all the offers are terrible offers. They want to price less than want to offer less than list price. Their financing is typically really bad. It's like, they're the littlest down they can put, and it's lots of contingencies and things like that. Unrealistic close dates. So what I'm going to do is talk about some specific things you can do to make your offer get accepted that are within your control, because some things aren't within your control. Okay. All right. So the first thing you have to do is the offer amount has to be appropriate. Now, what that means is it doesn't have to be the highest. There are some people out there who put really high offers, they don't get accepted. The reason they don't get accepted is because the sellers will look at an offer. If they have two offers and one of them is really high and one of them is down here, and the one that's really high is never going to get an appraisal, and then they're asking for closing costs and all this other stuff, they're anticipating what's going to happen. Appraisal's not going to come in, we're going to have to lower the price, and then they're going to still want all these closing costs. A lot of times they won't even accept that offer. But then they'll see another offer that's about what they think it's worth. They're not asking for closing costs. So offering an appropriate amount for the property. The appropriate amount is what you and your agent determine it to be, but if there are 10 offers on a property, it's listed for $100,000, you want to offer 90, you're not getting accepted. It's just you're wasting your time. That's a signal of where the other offers are and what the real value is, okay? Because list price doesn't really mean anything. Okay, the second thing is to make sure that you can prove how you're going to get this, you pay for this. So it's one thing to just have your agent send over a pre-approval letter, but something to support why this loan is for sure going to happen. For example, you could say, look, we were under contract on another house, we had full loan approval, we were at docs ready to go, and then the water heater exploded and destroyed the house, so we couldn't move forward, or some really, there was something not disclosed about the property, the HOA, we had to cancel at the last minute. So that might help you if you can show you've taken it that far into your financing, you can be approved. Sometimes it just takes the agent letting us know things like that. The other thing is remember, if we don't have a good sense of your financial pre-qualification, the seller is going to ask us questions, and if we can't answer them a lot of times, that's going to disqualify you. So having a legitimate pre-qual, something that you can say, hey, this is legitimate, this is how we're going to move forward. Obviously, if you have cash and a bank statement, that's pretty legitimate. That's going to work well. The other thing is realistic time frames. If you're asking for 14 days of due diligence, and then you're asking for a 2-month escrow and all this other stuff, if you ask for too many little things, a lot of times the seller just doesn't want to deal with those counters. And it may not make sense to you, because a lot of people's strategy is to ask for as much as they can get and then have the seller say no. But sometimes sellers, that is a sign to them of what's potentially going to happen during the transaction, is later on they're going to be asked for stuff. And we see that very commonly, where people get it under contract, and then all of a sudden every day or every couple of days we start getting hinted with, oh, well, this is broke, we want this fixed, we want this fixed, or we want this concession or whatever. So a lot of times what the sellers will do is just, in this market, is sort of stand their ground. So make sure you're not asking for too many ridiculous things. Sometimes it's those little things in the contract that make a big difference. So make your offer very clean. So that's another tip. The last tip is probably something that should go without saying, but especially in the beginning of the process, be as accommodating and as reasonable as possible. And you may not realize this, but sometimes your agent is just being overly aggressive or difficult to deal with, and sometimes they're doing it because you've directed them to do things. And we get a sense for what the whole transaction is going to go like strictly based on that agent and how they present the offer and how they are when we interact with them. And there are definitely times when we've had bad experiences with people, and then they come back, and I'll give you an example. We had somebody who admitted to us that every client that they've ever worked with, they wait until like the day before their due diligence ends, and then they ask for like a big price reduction, and they try to make their due diligence as long as possible. And we had a scenario where 3 or 4 times in a row he had done this, and we talked to him about it. He goes, "Yeah, that's my strategy. I tell my clients that's how I get them a deal." And so what happened was next time we got an offer from this guy, we explained that to the seller. This is how he works with, and this was an REO seller who was familiar with this agent, and his thing was, I don't ever want to see another offer from this agent because the agent's got this strategy of doing this thing to the seller every time, and we just don't want to deal with that anymore. So if that's the impression that's being made through your agent, then you're going to be at a disadvantage. So I'm not saying it's the agent, and don't read me wrong. There can be a lot of reasons why your offer doesn't get accepted, but the key is you have to have a reasonable offer, good proof of financing, not a lot of crazy stuff or demands in the offer, and then it has to, the whole sort of tone of the offer and how it's presented and everything else has to be reasonable. And usually if you accomplish those things, you're going to have a smooth transaction and your offer will get accepted. So just keep in mind there are some nuances and things that you may not be aware of. So I thought I would share that with you today. That's my update, and I hope to see you on another video. Thanks.